We often talk about change as if it lives somewhere in the future, as if one day, when conditions are right, when confidence arrives, when fear disappears, we'll finally begin. But that belief quietly keeps us stuck because it places power in a time that does not yet exist. The truth is simpler and far more uncomfortable. Nothing meaningful happens in the future. Everything that ever changes a life happens in the present. The present moment is the only place where action is possible. Not intention, not planning, not wishing, action. You can think about yesterday all you want, but you cannot act there. You can dream about tomorrow endlessly, but you cannot act there either. Action only happens now. And yet, now is the moment we avoid the most. We avoid it because the present exposes us. It reveals whether we are doing what we say matters. It reveals whether our values are real or just words we repeat to sound convincing. The future allows us to promise. The past allows us to explain. The present demands proof. Most people don't lack ambition. They lack presence. They want progress without engagement. They want results without responsibility. So they live mentally ahead of themselves, believing that if they think far enough into the future, clarity will magically appear. But clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from doing something real, in real time. Consider how often we say, I'll start when I have more time, or I'll focus once things settle down. But things don't settle down. Life doesn't slow itself to accommodate our readiness. The conditions are never perfect because the present moment is not designed to be comfortable. It's designed to be used. When we say we're waiting for the right moment, what we're often waiting for is permission. Permission to be imperfect. Permission to be unsure. Permission to try without guarantees. But the present moment doesn't offer permission. It offers opportunity. And opportunity is useless unless we step into it. This is where many people confuse motion with movement. They fill their days with activity, meetings, notifications, and noise, convincing themselves they're progressing. But activity without intention is just distraction dressed up as productivity. Real movement requires focus, and focus only exists in the present. Think about the moments that actually shaped your life. Not the plans, not the dreams, the moments. A conversation you fully showed up for. A decision you made when it would have been easier to delay. A small action you took even though you didn't feel ready. None of those happened in the future. They happened when you chose to engage with what was in front of you. We like to romanticize big turning points, but real change is almost always quiet. It happens when no one is watching. It happens in choices so small they feel insignificant. But those choices compound because each one strengthens a habit of presence, and presence is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. The opposite is also true. Every time we avoid the present, every time we numb ourselves with distraction or escape into fantasy, we weaken our ability to lead our own lives. Over time, we become reactive instead of intentional. We start responding to urgency instead of purpose. And then we wonder why we feel exhausted, unfulfilled, and behind. Exhaustion is often a sign that our attention is scattered. We're carrying too many mental timelines at once. We're replaying the past while rehearsing the future, leaving no energy for what actually matters now. The mind was never meant to live everywhere at the same time. When we focus on the present, something powerful happens. The noise quiets, priorities sharpen. We begin to see what truly matters versus what merely feels urgent. We stop asking, what should my life look like someday? And start asking, what does this moment require of me? That question changes everything. Because the moment doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty. It doesn't require certainty. It requires effort. It doesn't require confidence. It requires courage. The courage to act without knowing exactly how things will turn out. This is how trust is built. Not through grand visions alone, but through consistent presence. People trust leaders who are fully there. Teams thrive when attention is undivided. Relationships deepen when we listen without waiting to respond. None of this is possible when our mind is elsewhere. The present moment is also where accountability lives. You can blame the past or negotiate with the future, but the present offers no hiding place. You are either engaged or you are not. You are either choosing or avoiding. And while that can feel confronting, it's also liberating. Because once you accept that the present is where power lives, you stop feeling helpless. You may not control outcomes, but you control actions. You may not control timing, but you control effort. You may not control circumstances, but you control attention. And attention is the most valuable resource we have. What you give your attention to today shapes who you become tomorrow, not in theory, in practice. If you give your attention to fear, your decisions shrink. If you give it to resentment, your energy drains. But if you give it to the work, the conversation, the choice in front of you, something begins to grow. Progress stops feeling overwhelming when you stop trying to live your entire life at once. You don't need to solve everything. You don't need to know the ending. You just need to be fully present for the next step. The irony is that the more present you are, the faster you actually move. Not because you rush, but because you stop wasting energy on imagined problems. You deal with what's real right now. And reality, while sometimes uncomfortable, is far more manageable than the stories we create in our heads. The present moment doesn't promise ease. It promises impact. It's where discipline becomes visible. It's where values become behavior. It's where potential turns into something tangible. So if you feel stuck, don't look further ahead. Look closer. Look at the task you've been avoiding, the conversation you've been postponing, the action you've been overthinking. That is where your progress begins. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. Because the present moment is not a stepping stone to life. It is the foundation of it. We often blame time for our lack of focus. We say there aren't enough hours in the day, that everything is urgent, that the world moves too fast. But time has not changed. What has changed is our relationship with meaning. When what we are doing feels important, we don't struggle to focus. When it doesn't, we look for escape. Distraction at its core is not a time problem. It is a meaning problem. Think about the moments when you are completely absorbed in something. You don't check your phone. You don't watch the clock. You don't feel drained. Time seems to disappear. That's not because time slowed down. It's because your attention found purpose. Your mind wasn't searching for something better to do. It was exactly where it needed to be. Now compare that to the moments when every few minutes you feel the urge to look away. You scroll, you multitask, you jump from one task to another. Those moments feel exhausting, even though they require very little effort. That exhaustion doesn't come from work. It comes from disconnection, from doing something without understanding why it matters. We live in a world that constantly competes for our attention. Notifications, headlines, opinions, comparisons. But the reason they succeed is not because they are powerful. It's because we are unclear. When our purpose is fuzzy, anything can distract us. When our why is weak, every interruption feels justified. This is why telling people to just focus rarely works. Focus is not a switch you flip. It's a byproduct of belief. We naturally give our attention to things that feel meaningful. We struggle to focus on things that feel empty, forced, or disconnected from who we are. Many people try to solve distraction by managing tools, turning off notifications, organizing schedules, buying planners. Those things can help, but they don't address the root issue. You can remove every distraction and still feel unfocused if you don't believe the work matters. Structure without meaning feels like discipline. Structure with meaning feels like freedom. When we lack clarity, we fill the gap with noise. We mistake stimulation for engagement. We chase urgency because it makes us feel needed. But urgency is not the same as importance. Urgency screams, importance whispers, and you can only hear whispers when you slow down and stay present. This is why so many people feel busy but unfulfilled. They are constantly reacting instead of intentionally choosing. Their days are shaped by external demands rather than internal direction. Over time, they lose the ability to tell the difference between what truly matters and what simply demands attention. The present moment becomes uncomfortable in this state because being present forces us to confront the question we've been avoiding: why am I doing this? And if we don't like the answer, or if we don't have one, we escape into distraction. But here's the shift that changes everything. Meaning is not something you find someday. It's something you assign today. It's the story you tell yourself about why this moment matters. Two people can do the same task. One feels drained, the other feels fulfilled. The difference is not the task, it's the meaning attached to it. When you understand how what you're doing serves something bigger, your values, your growth, your contribution, focus becomes natural. You stop fighting yourself. You stop needing constant motivation. You show up because you believe it matters even when it's hard. This is especially important in leadership, in work, and in life. People don't disengage because they are lazy. They disengage because they feel disconnected. When individuals can't see how their effort fits into a larger picture, attention fades, presence disappears, and performance suffers. The solution is not pressure. Pressure creates compliance, not commitment. The solution is clarity. Clarity about why this work matters now. Clarity about how today's effort connects to tomorrow's outcome. Clarity about who benefits when you show up fully. When meaning is clear, discipline stops feeling like sacrifice. It feels like alignment. You don't need to be pushed. You move willingly. You don't need constant rewards. The work itself becomes rewarding. Fifth, is also changes how we experience the present moment. Instead of feeling like something to get through, it becomes something to engage with. Even difficult moments carry purpose when we understand their role. Learning feels meaningful when it's connected to growth. Hard conversations feel worthwhile when they're connected to trust. Effort feels lighter when it's connected to impact. Of course, not every moment will feel inspiring, but meaning doesn't require inspiration. It requires intention. You don't have to love every task. You just have to know why you're choosing it. When you don't choose intentionally, distraction chooses for you. Your attention gets pulled by whatever is loudest, and loud things are rarely the most important. The present moment becomes powerful again when we reclaim our attention, not by forcing ourselves to concentrate, but by reconnecting to purpose, by asking better questions. Not how do I stay focused, but why does this matter right now? That question brings you back. It anchors you. It reminds you that this moment is not random. It's a building block. A vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Focus is not about doing more. It's about caring more, about fewer things. When you care deeply, your attention follows naturally. When you care shallowly, your mind wanders endlessly. So if you find yourself constantly distracted, don't criticize yourself. Get curious. Ask what's missing. Ask where the meaning has faded. And then consciously reconnect the moment in front of you to something that matters to you. Because when the present moment has meaning, it holds your attention. And when it holds your attention, it shapes your future on a focused moment at a time. We like to believe that anxiety is caused by external pressure, deadlines, expectations, uncertainty. But anxiety is not created by what is happening around us. It is created by where our mind chooses to live. Anxiety lives in the future. Regret lives in the past. And when our thoughts are constantly pulled in both directions, the present moment becomes an empty space we rush through instead of a place we stand in. Most of our stress comes from trying to control outcomes that are not yet real. We imagine conversations that haven't happened. We predict failures that haven't occurred. We rehearse scenarios we may never face. And while our body is here, our mind is somewhere else, carrying emotional weight for events that do not exist. The mind is incredibly powerful, but it was never designed to live permanently in the future. When it does, it creates fear. Not because danger is present, but because uncertainty is. The future is unknown, and the human brain dislikes the unknown. So it fills the gaps with worst-case stories, and those stories feel real even when they aren't. At the same time, many of us are pulled backward. We replay mistakes. We relive moments we wish we had handled differently. We question our past decisions. Regret convinces us that if we think hard enough about what happened, we can somehow change it. But the past is fixed. All that rumination does is steal energy from the only place where growth is possible. Living this way fractures our attention. Part of us is worried, part of us is guilty, and very little of us is actually here. That's why even simple moments feel heavy. We're not just carrying the present, we're carrying timelines that don't belong to it. The present moment becomes powerful when we realize this. Fear and regret cannot survive sustained attention to what is happening right now. You can feel discomfort in the present. You can feel effort. You can feel uncertainty. But anxiety requires projection. Regret requires replay. Both disappear when you anchor yourself in what is real. This doesn't mean ignoring the future or denying the past. It means putting them in their proper place. The future is for planning. The past is for learning. The present is for living. Problems arise when we try to live in all three at once. When you focus on the present, your nervous system responds. Breathing slows. Muscles release. Your body understands that right now, in this moment, you are safe enough to act. Not safe from difficulty, but safe from imagined catastrophe. This is why people often say they feel calm when they're fully engaged in something demanding, a difficult workout, a meaningful conversation, focused work. The challenge doesn't disappear, but anxiety does, because attention is no longer scattered. It is unified. Regret works the same way. When you are present, regret loses its grip. You may remember the past, but you are no longer trapped in it. You stop asking, "Why did this happen?" and start asking, "What can I do with what I know now?" That shift moves you forward. Many people avoid the present because they believe it will be too painful. They think that if they slow down, all the emotions they've been outrunning will catch up. And sometimes they're right at first. But avoiding the present doesn't eliminate pain. It postpones it and multiplies it. The present mom auntie doesn't create pain, it reveals it. And revelation is the first step toward resolution. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. You cannot change what you will not acknowledge. Being present requires courage. Courage to sit with discomfort without numbing it. Courage to accept uncertainty without demanding answers. Courage to trust that you can handle what is in front of you, even if you don't know what comes next. This is where resilience is built, not by eliminating fear, but by learning how to return to the present when fear pulls you away. Each time you do, you prove to yourself that you are capable, that you are not defined by your worries or your past mistakes. The present moment also restores perspective. When anxiety takes over, everything feels urgent and overwhelming. When regret takes over, everything feels final and irreversible. Presence reminds you that this moment is just one moment. Important, yes, but not the whole story. From this place, better decisions are made. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of panic. You act instead of freeze. The quality of your choices improves because they are grounded in reality, not fear. Leaders who remain calm under pressure are not immune to anxiety. They've simply trained themselves to return to the present. They focus on what can be done now instead of what might go wrong later. They ask, what's the next right step, not how do we solve everything at once? This approach doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees progress. And progress is the antidote to helplessness. When you live in the present, you reclaim your agency. You stop being a victim of imagined futures and unchangeable pasts. You become an active participant in your own life again. The present moment is not where fear disappears. It's where fear loses control. It's where regret becomes wisdom instead of weight. It's where anxiety is replaced with intention. So when your mind races ahead or drifts behind, don't fight it. Gently bring it back to the breath, to the task, to the conversation, to the choice in front of you. Because peace is not found by fixing everything. It is found by being fully here, one grounded moment at a time. We often say we don't have enough time. That time is slipping away, that the days are moving faster than we can keep up. But time has never been the real issue. Everyone has the same 24 hours. What separates fulfilled people from frustrated ones is not how they manage their time, but how they manage their attention. Attention is the most valuable resource we have, yet it's the one we give away most casually. We hand it to notifications, to noise, to other people's priorities, to worries that haven't happened yet, and then we wonder why, at the end of the day, we feel like we've been busy without being effective. Mastery is not about doing more things, it's about being fully present with the few things that matter. Great leaders, great thinkers, and deeply fulfilled people don't try to live everywhere at once. They choose where their attention goes and they protect it fiercely. This is why focus feels so rare today. We live in a culture that rewards responsiveness over reflection. We praise people who answer instantly, multitask constantly, and stay endlessly available. But availability is not leadership, and speed is not the same as clarity. When attention is fragmented, judgment suffers. We make reactive decisions. We say yes when we should pause. We chase urgency instead of importance, and over time, we lose our sense of direction, not because we lack vision, but because we lack presence. The present moment is where attention becomes a skill instead of a weakness. It's where you practice choosing what deserves your energy. Not everything does. Just because something is loud does not mean it is important. Just because something demands your response does not mean it deserves it. True focus begins with a decision to be deliberate, a decision to value depth over breadth, a decision to do one thing well instead of many things poorly. This choice is not always popular. It often requires saying no. It often requires disappointing people. But leadership has never been about pleasing everyone. It's about serving something bigger with integrity. People who master attention understand that distraction has a cost. Every interruption carries a hidden tax. It breaks momentum. It fractures thinking. It pulls you out of the present and forces your mind to reset again and again. Over time, this constant switching exhausts us, not because the work is hard, but because our focus never gets a chance to settle. When attention is sustained, something remarkable happens. Quality improves. Insight deepens. Work becomes meaningful instead of mechanical. You stop reacting to life and start shaping it. This applies beyond work. In relationships, attention is the difference between connection and distance. Being physically present but mentally absent erodes trust. Listening while waiting to speak sends a message, even if it's unintentional. Presence communicates respect. It tells people, you matter right now. The same is true in leadership. Teams don't just need direction, they need attention. They need to feel seen and heard. A leader who is fully present builds psychological safety. People perform better not because they are monitored, but because they are valued. Attention also shapes character. What you consistently focus on becomes what you care about, and what you care about becomes who you are. If your attention is constantly pulled toward comparison, dissatisfaction grows. If it's pulled toward purpose, fulfillment follows. This is why mastering attention is not a productivity tactic. It's a life philosophy. It's the choice to live intentionally rather than reactively, to decide that your energy is finite and therefore precious. The present moment is where that mastery is practiced. Not in dramatic acts, but in small, quiet decisions. The decision to finish one task before starting another. The decision to put the phone away during a conversation. The decision to pause before responding emotionally. These moments don't look impressive from the outside, but over time, they compound. They build trust. They build competence. They build confidence. Not the loud kind, but the grounded kind that comes from knowing you can direct your own attention. Many people wait for focus to arrive before they act, but focus follows action when that action is intentional. You don't need perfect conditions, you need commitment. Commitment to being where you are, doing what you're doing with full presence. This discipline doesn't limit freedom, it creates it. When you control your attention, fewer things control you. You're less reactive, less anxious, less scattered. You become hard to manipulate and easier to trust, both by others and by yourself. The present moment is not just where attention is applied, it's where attention is trained. Each time you choose presence over distraction, you strengthen your ability to lead yourself and others. So if you feel pulled in too many directions, don't ask for more time. Ask what deserves your attention. Decide what truly matters, and then give it the respect of your full presence. Because the people who shape the future are not the ones who do everything. They are the ones who learn to focus deeply, intentionally, and right now, we tend to overestimate the power of big moments and underestimate the influence of small ones. We believe transformation arrives through dramatic breakthroughs, bold announcements, or overnight success, but real change rarely works that way. Real change is built quietly, patiently, through small actions taken in the present moment, again and again. The future is not something we suddenly step into. It is something we slowly construct, and every brick is laid in the now. Most people want to know where they'll be in 5 or 10 years. They want certainty, they want guarantees, but the truth is, the future is not shaped by answers to big questions. It is shaped by commitment. to small behaviors. The future is not a destination, it's a direction. Small actions often feel insignificant because they don't provide immediate reward. They don't impress others. They don't come with applause. And because we are wired to seek visible progress, we dismiss them. We wait for motivation to do something meaningful, forgetting that motivation often comes after action, not before it. The present T-moment asks a simple question: what can you do right now? Not what you can finish today, not what you can perfect this year, just what you can begin or continue in this moment. That question removes overwhelm. It shrinks fear. It makes progress accessible. Consistency is not about intensity. It's about trust. Trust that showing up today matters even if the result is invisible. Trust that effort compounds. Trust that discipline, practiced quietly, becomes identity. This is why the most reliable indicator of future success is not talent or intelligence. It's consistency in the present. People who succeed are not always more gifted. They are more faithful to small commitments. They keep promises to themselves when no one is watching. The present moment is where identity is formed. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. When you choose to act with integrity now, you reinforce integrity. When you choose to focus now, you reinforce focus. Over time, these choices stop feeling like effort and start feeling like who you are. We often ask, how do I change my life? But life doesn't change all at once. It shifts incrementally. It responds to patterns, and patterns are created in moments so ordinary we barely notice them. The danger is not failure. The danger is inconsistency, disguised as waiting. Waiting for the right mood. Waiting for clarity. Waiting for confidence. But waiting is still a choice, and it's a choice that shapes the future just as much as action does. Small actions also build resilience. When you act only when you feel inspired, progress is fragile. But when you act because you are committed, progress becomes stable. You learn that you can move forward even when it's uncomfortable, uncertain, or inconvenient. This is how confidence is built. Not by thinking positively, but by keeping small promises. Each time you do what you said you would do, you build self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of courage. The present moment is also where momentum begins. Momentum doesn't require massive effort. It requires continuity. One action leads to another. One choice reduces resistance for the next. Over time, what once felt hard becomes familiar. What felt unfamiliar becomes normal. Many people look at successful individuals and assume they were always disciplined, always focused, always certain. But discipline is learned. Focus is trained. Certainty is earned through experience. And all of that training happens in the present. The future rewards patience, but patience is practiced now. It's practiced when you resist the urge for immediate gratification, when you choose long-term benefit over short-term comfort, when you stay present with the process instead of rushing toward the outcome. This is especially true when results are delayed, when effort doesn't seem to pay off, when progress feels slow. These moments test commitment. They ask whether you believe the present matters even when the future is unclear. The people who keep going during these moments are not blindly optimistic. They are anchored in purpose, anchored in the belief that today's actions are shaping tomorrow's reality, whether they see it or not. The present moment is also forgiving. If you've been inconsistent, distracted, or unfocused, you don't need to fix everything at once. You just need to begin again, right now. One choice, one action, one moment of presence. This is the power of now. It doesn't judge your past. It doesn't demand perfection. It simply offers you another opportunity to act in alignment with what matters. When enough of these moments are stacked together, something remarkable happens. Progress becomes visible. Identity solidifies. The future begins to look less like a question and more like a reflection of who you've been choosing to be. The extraordinary is built from the ordinary, handled with care. So don't underestimate the moment you're in. Don't wait for a better one. Use this one. Because the future you're hoping for is quietly waiting for you to show up, right now. We often search for change in the distance, believing it lives somewhere ahead of us. We imagine that clarity will arrive later, that confidence will come with time, that life will finally make sense once we reach a certain point. But the truth this speech has returned to again and again is simple. Everything we are looking for already begins in the present moment. The present is not a pause between where, why, who were and where you're going. It is the place where direction is chosen. It is where attention becomes action, where values become behavior, and where purpose stops being an idea and starts becoming a practice. When we ignore the present, we give up the only influence we truly have. Focusing on the present does not mean abandoning the future or forgetting the past. It means putting them in their rightful place. The past is meant to teach us, not trap us. The future is meant to guide us, not scare us. But the present is meant to be lived, fully, intentionally, and with courage. Every moment you are in asks something of you, not perfection, not certainty, just honesty and effort. When you meet the moment with presence, distractions lose their grip, anxiety quiets, regret softens, and what once felt overwhelming becomes manageable, one choice at a time. The quality of your life is shaped less by big decisions and more by small, repeated ones. How you focus, how you listen, how you show up when no one is watching. These ordinary moments, handled with care, quietly build extraordinary outcomes. Leadership, fulfillment, and growth all begin the same way, with attention. When you choose where your attention goes, you reclaim your power. You stop reacting to noise and start responding with intention. You stop waiting for motivation and start creating momentum. The future you want is not built in a single breakthrough. It is built in daily presence, in choosing what matters now, in doing the next right thing, even when it feels small, especially when it feels small. So if you take one thing from this message, let it be this: your life is not happening tomorrow. It is happening now. And the way you treat this moment determines how much trust, confidence, and meaning you carry into the next. You don't need more time. You don't need more certainty. You need more presence. Focus on the moment in front of you. Give it your attention. Honor it with action, because the present moment is not just where life happens. It is where your future quietly begins.